Have you ever heard of something called jogging in a jug? Well, if you haven't, you can Google it later, but basically, it is a concoction of grape juice and apple cider vinegar. Right? It's some kind of, health food remedy or folk remedy, if you will, for high cholesterol. It's a kind of Drano for your arteries. Supposedly 2 ounces of this a day will just, clean out your arteries. Now, I don't know if it works. I couldn't actually find any scientific evidence that it works, but wouldn't it be great if it did, right? I mean, just the name sounds appealing. Jogging in a jug. Wouldn't it be great if you could gain all of the benefits of exercise and jogging without actually having to exercise? Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, if you could lower your cholesterol and improve your health without having to strap on your Nikes and just do it. Instead, you could just drink it. No getting up before dawn, no going to the gym, no hours on a treadmill, just, a shot glass of vinegar and it's, pass the Krispy Kremes, please. Wouldn't it be great? In short, what we're constantly trying to do, I think, is repeal the law of sowing and reaping. We're trying to sever the connection between action and consequence. I mean, not just with eating and drinking, but in every area of our life. It's this universal human urge. People want to enjoy the benefits without actually ever paying the price. I mean, take money, right? Why is the lottery so popular? Because it's an opportunity to become wealthy without labor, right? There are other ways to acquire wealth, but they're not nearly as appealing because they all involve work. I mean, it's why we love game shows. Who wants to be a millionaire? You just answer a dozen trivia questions and then boom, you're rich. No years of medical school, no years of working late at the office, no years of sacrificing and saving and investing, just 10 minutes and boom, instant wealth. Now, I'm actually not knocking game shows. I was on one time in the first year of Phillips and my marriage, and I won some money. Yes, I was grateful. But I didn't live my life from one game show to the next. Having wealth without earning it just sounds awesome, right? But Galatians 6 says this, don't be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. So our life, our character, our relationship with God, our relationship with other people, those are ruled by the law of sowing and reaping. It is a part of the moral fabric of the universe. And this law can't be overturned by drinking vinegar. It can't be repealed by a winning lottery ticket. It holds fast. Everything we sow, everything, will eventually bear fruit. Here's the key. We don't actually have a choice as to whether the law of sowing and reaping is going to apply in our lives, because that scripture just said a man reaps what he sows. We don't have a choice about whether the seeds are going to bear fruit. The only choice we have is what kind of seeds we're going to plant. That's it. I love this principle. It is the best one because we can change our future. We have the power to change our future. What do you want your life to look like 10 years from now? Well, if you want it to be the same as it is now, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you actually want something else, you have to sow different seeds. Your life right now, the life that you are currently living right now, is a result of seeds you have sown. And listen, if there's a part of your life you don't like, sow different seeds. If we want the structure of our life to be different, we have to build differently. We're in this series called Blueprints, and blueprints are the plans that buildings are based on. They give clarity to what is being built. Well, our life has a blueprint. It gives clarity for the direction, for the season of our individual lives. The blueprint, like seeds, determine what our life will look like. And our church has a blueprint which defines who we are as a church and keeps us headed in the right direction. Here's a portion of scripture that is sort of foundational to this series, and this is Jesus talking, and he says this. He says, "These words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, homeowner improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words, words to build a life on. if you work these words into your life, you're like a smart carpenter who built his house on solid rock. The rain poured down, the river flooded, or tornado hit, but nothing moved that house. It was fixed to the rock. But if you just use my words in Bible studies and don't work them into your life, you're like a stupid carpenter. You know, that Jesus, he's always just pushing it a little bit. You know, who built his life on the sandy beach. When a storm rolled in and the waves came up, it collapsed like a house of cards. So what Jesus is saying is you can't just hear the word, come in Sunday morning, hear the word. No, you have to hear the word and do the word. We have to build our life on his teachings. We have to apply them to our life. Now, the vision of Oasis Church is to reach people far from God and lead them to become authentic followers of Jesus. This frames everything that we do here at Oasis Church. That is the vision. It's reaching and leading, and it requires strategy, and it requires values. We can't have a vision and then forsake the values. Our values as a church actually help us reach this vision. You know, the first week of the series, Philip talked about one of our values. He talked about compassion. And compassion is the demonstration of our love. So we have compassion as people, and as a church, we are compassionate. For 33 years, we have labored to create an environment in our church that is compassion, where we accept people just where they are. You don't have to be perfect to be here. There's the atmosphere of grace and compassion for all of us. So that's why when we pray for people, and we might say, you know, if you need prayer, and raise their hands, I raise my hands. We all need prayer. We all need help, and there's no judgment here because we're a culture of compassion. We accept people just where they are. And then we're a culture here, and that allows us to be practically compassionate in our city and around the world. And then last week, I talked about integrity. Integrity means becoming whole people. And part of that is when we give our word, we mean it. Let's be a community of people who don't just say something, but we say it and we mean it. And we follow through, we honor our commitments. A people of integrity in a culture and society that is not. We're gonna be a people who honor our word. And there's other values we have honor and generosity. And today, I'm gonna talk about excellence. Excellence is one of the values we have here at Oasis Church. Okay, what is excellence? Well, the Greek word for excellence that's used in the New Testament comes from the word perisou, which means to have an abundance, to surpass. I mean, basically, biblical excellence is to do your best with what God has given you. Now, excellence is a little different than success. You know, success in many people's mind means being the best, but excellence means being your best. Success to many means being better than everyone else, but excellence means being better tomorrow than you were yesterday. Success might mean exceeding the achievements of other people, but excellence means matching your practice with your potential. You know, Booker T. Washington said excellence is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. I love that. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for men, knowing that from the Lord you'll receive the inheritance as your reward. You're serving the Lord Christ. So Paul is telling us, whatever you do. That means, actually, whatever you do. Whatever you do, anything, whether it's with your words or your actions, he's saying, work heartily. In other words, work with all your heart. Work with all your soul. Whatever you're doing, give it everything. Or don't do it. Whatever you're doing, give it everything. Don't just do your marriage half-heartedly. Don't just do your job half-heartedly without passion. Don't just go to work to earn a paycheck. Don't just go through the motions. And whatever you do, give it everything. 2 Corinthians 8, Paul writes this. He says, but just as you excel in everything and lead the way in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in genuine concern, and in your love for us, see that you excel in this gracious work of giving also. So he's giving us a long list of areas we're supposed to be excellent in. He says excellent in faith. What he's saying is, can you trust God more today than you did yesterday? That's excellent in faith. Be excellent in speech. What words are coming out of your mouth? The Bible tells us that our world, your personal world, is framed by the words of your mouth. So what words are coming out of your mouth? You actually can control those. You may not be able to control all the circumstances that come against you, but we can control the words that come out of our mouth. And sometimes we need to, heckling on the front row. You can either speak the promises of God over your life. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. I am the loved beyond measure, daughter of a king. Or you can say things like, it's never going to happen. It's never going to go my way. My life is a wreck. What words are coming out of your mouth? Let's be excellent in speech. Let's be better at speaking the promises of God today than we were yesterday. And then he says, excellent in loving. Love better than you did yesterday. And that's hard because people are weird. I mean, I know you're not weird, but the person next to you is like really bizarre, right? And so sometimes people make it hard to love, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't say except when they're weird or except when they're hard. He says be excellent in loving, even when it's hard. And then be excellent in forgiving. Anybody else find it hard to forgive sometimes, or is that just me? No, I always want justice. Like lightning bolt. No, but he says excellent in forgiving. Forgive quicker. Forgive quicker than you did yesterday. And then he says excel, be excellent in giving. Are you giving more this year than you did last year? If not, why? Excellent is doing better today than you did yesterday. He's challenging us to be excellent. And you know, excellence takes more than just casual effort to obtain. And maybe to get some perspective on what excellence is, let's look at what the word mediocre means. Mediocre is defined as moderate to inferior in quality. Average. Average. Imagine a church. Imagine how the church would be if we all just gave average efforts. We would be a mediocre church. And I'm pretty sure a mediocre church does not bring honor to God. We should strive for excellence in all we do. If we're painting a wall, do it excellently. Get the corners. Right? Tape off the windowsill. Don't leave paint splatter places. If you're sweeping a floor, sweep all the floor. Right? If you're giving, give excellently. Are we doing the best we can? Now notice, I didn't say we had to be perfect. Because perfection is paralyzing. And if we wait until we can do things perfectly, then we actually will do nothing. We won't take risks. We'll not stretch our abilities. We won't grow. Excellence is not perfection. It is striving to be the very best we can, to give the best we can in any situation. So we ask you, are you treating with excellence all that God has trusted you with? I mean, has he given you a car? Are you driving a car? Are you treating that with excellence, or are you just frustrated that you don't have a better car? All right, how about the job that God's trusted us with? Are you being excellent at your job? Are you better at it this week than you were last week? Are you excelling? Has he trusted you with a family? Are you treating them with excellence, above and beyond? Has he given you an education? Are you in the middle of a class right now, taking classes? Are you excellent? Are you better this week than you were last week? See, he's pushing the line for us as Christians. We should be different. 1 Thessalonians 4, he says this, finally, believers, we ask and admonish you in the Lord Jesus that you follow the instruction that you receive from us about how you ought to walk and please God, just as you're actually doing, and that you excel even more and more, pursuing a life of purpose and living in a way that expresses gratitude to God for your salvation. See, the real reason for excellence has to do with our attitude of service to God. We want to reach others so that what they see in us offers a glimpse of who God is and our commitment to him. And the real audience, the real audience for our service of excellence is actually God himself. Our service is his gift. God gave us his best. He gave us his son. He deserves nothing less than the best from us in return. Bill Hybels, who is the founder of Willow Creek Community Church, had this to say about excellence. Good enough is just not good enough when it comes to honoring God through the church. In response to his holiness and greatness, in gratitude for his monumental sacrifice for us, our attitude ought to be to pay tribute to him with the best we can offer, not obsessive perfectionism, but an attitude of excellence that permeates all we do in the church and in our personal lives. What we do as Christians reflects on the Christ we serve. I love that. It means we go above and beyond what was expected. We go beyond the expected measure. We seek excellence. Are we doing that? Or have we just settled back into the comfort zone of mediocrity? I read this quote from Maya Angelou, and she said this. She said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, you do better. And that's how complicated excellence is, right? It's pretty simple. Isn't that what we're called to be? Do the best we can in everything. Then when we learn more and understand better, then go and do better. I'm a little bit of a history buff too. And any history buffs in the room? Yeah, my friend Wendy is, so this is for her. Winston Churchill, his first speech that he gave to the House of Commons, to his government, 3 days after becoming prime minister at the beginning of World War II, was a pretty remarkable speech. And England is being bombed. It's in the middle of the World War II, and there's just disaster all around him. And he's the newly elected prime minister, and he stands before his government, and this is what he says. He says, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? I can say, it is to wage war by sea, land, and air with all our might and with all the strength that God can give us. To wage war against a tyranny that is never surpassed in the dark, lamentable catalog of human crime. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word, victory. It's victory at all costs. Victory in spite of the terror. Victory however long and hard the road may be. For without victory, there is no survival. Let that be realized. No survival for the British Empire. No survival for all that the British Empire has stood for. Well, can I just say, even more than Great Britain, God is worthy of our blood and our toil and our sweat. He is worthy of our best efforts and our highest achievement. He is worthy of excellence. Right? There are many causes that you can devote your time and effort. From small causes to large causes. Collecting stamps, rebuilding old cars, practicing medicine or law, climbing Mount Everest, building a business, running for public office, raising a family, keeping your garden taken care of, lowering your golf handicap, tutoring children, reading Tom Clancy novels, staying physically fit, finding a cure for cancer, finding new galaxies. I'll always put something like that in every message, just so we're clear. And some of these causes, are perhaps more worthy than others. But there is one cause that is worthy of every ounce of work and devotion and labor and sacrifice and suffering and dedication. Only one cause that is worth giving our lives for every day. And that cause is serving God with our whole heart and mind and strength. Because listen, Mount Everest will crumble. The galaxies will burn out. Empires such as the British Empire that Churchill fought to preserve will rise and fall. Your body will fall apart, but God and his kingdom are eternal. So that is why we give our best. See, God gave us his best. Romans 8:32 says, he who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? He gave us his best. The name Stradivarius is synonymous with very fine, exclusive, expensive violins. And this is true because Antonius Stradivarius insisted that no instrument constructed in his shop would be sold until it was as near perfection as human care and skill could make it. Stradivarius said this, God needs violins to send his music into the world. And if any violins are defective, God's music will be spoiled. His work philosophy was summed up in one sentence. It says, other men will make violins, but no man shall make a better one. Antonius Stradivarius expected his workers to do their very best in producing violins. So how much more should we as Christians strive for excellence in whatever work has been entrusted to us? We represent a higher standard, the King of Kings. 1 Peter 2:12 says, keep your behavior excellent among the unsaved Gentiles. Conduct yourself honorably with graciousness and integrity, so that for whatever reason that they may slander you as evildoers, yet by observing your good deeds, they may instead come to glorify God in the day of visitation. So let me just ask you this. Where do you work? Be excellent there. Be the best you. That will be so refreshing for the people that you work for. Right? Your excellence can cause someone to actually see God. Are you in school? Excel there. Let's be known as those who pursue excellence. Let's have that reputation. A few years ago, a couple of our members worked at a Starbucks in the San Fernando Valley. And when I went in, the manager found out that I was one of the pastors at Oasis. And he said, hey, we're hiring. And do you have any more members who need a job? Because the ones that we've hired from Oasis, they're the best employees we've ever had. I love that that's the reputation we have. And we should have that reputation because we are serving him. No matter where we're at work or in our community, let's have that reputation where whether it's from the homeless outreach that we do with PATH, or whether it's LAPD, or when we're in the retirement community, wherever we are, we want them to say, bring in Oasis because they'll handle this with excellence. That's the reputation we should have throughout our city, but we won't if we each don't have that as individuals. It's not just some big corporation we can't have excellence as a value and it not be in your heart or my heart. We're representing Jesus. All right, let's be excellent in serving. Now, from time to time, Philip and I will have guests in our home, and when these times come, we have a decision to make. Are we going to, clean the house and make it excellent? Or are we just going to, leave it a mess? And think for a moment. Imagine that you're coming to my home, and there's 2-week-old laundry on the floor, and there's dishes with, dried food left on the coffee table. There's a strange odor coming from the dining room rug. Maybe that's like old yogurt or something. And there's dirt on the floor, or is that leftover puppy potty training? There's honey-covered fingerprints, all over the refrigerator. The bathroom hasn't been cleaned in a week. The bed is unmade. The sheets are dirty. The carpet's stained, and you can hardly walk through the hallway. It's so messy. And then when dinner time comes, we just say, hey, open the fridge, get whatever you want. And then you open the fridge, and there's actually nothing in there. It's empty. How would you feel about coming to my house? Right? Would you say, whoa, those Wagners, they really pursue excellence. They're winners. No, you wouldn't think that at all. You would figure out the fastest way out of my house, right? Well, we're supposed to demonstrate our love for people by leading and serving them with excellence. Because you see, each weekend we have guests, and we have people who call Oasis home, and they walk through those doors and come in here, and we need to be serving them with excellence. We can offer nothing less because it glorifies God. 1 Corinthians 14:12 says, so it is with you. Since you are eager for gifts of the Spirit, try to excel in those that build up the church. All right, I have some amazing props today to help me illustrate my message. And so if the team could come up here for a second. They're the cutest props ever. Did we bring a mic up here with us? Perfect. Okay. So this is Katie. And she's single, by the way. Just thought I'd point that out. But and adorable and awesome. But let's just say for a moment, Katie is a first-time guest at Oasis. Okay, her life isn't going great. Let's just say that. Maybe she just found out that her father is dying of cancer, and she's dealing with issues in her own heart, and maybe her marriage is breaking down. So she's in pain. And somebody at Oasis says, you should come to my church. And so she does. On a Sunday, she gets herself out of the bed and out the door, and that, it can be hard sometimes. And so she gets herself in the car and on the freeway, and she gets to church, and she gets to the parking lot that she had to look really hard to find. And she gets there, and then there's a parking lot attendant, and this is what he says when she pulls in.
Keep it moving. Please hurry up. You're holding up traffic. Seriously, go. Go.
Okay,
go.
Is that the friendly person we want? Is that excellence in the parking lot? This is the interactive part of the service. No. He's cute but mean. Okay? Right, and then we come to But she just somehow manages anyway to push through and find a spot, even though grumpy person was helping her or not helping. And she gets in, and then she crosses the street, and she steps onto the property, and here's somebody who's supposed to be greeting people, welcoming people with a smile and thanking them for coming, but he's too busy, checking Instagram and taking selfies. And so is that excellent? No, is that serving with excellence? No. But then maybe she kind of stumbles past him anyway, and then she comes in, and here's an usher who is supposed to help her find a seat, but he sounds kind of like this.
Saw the game, dude. I had courtside seat. Hold on, I gotta help somebody. Look, there's a lot of seats. Just go find one, okay? Thanks, appreciate it.
He's too busy with the game. He's hearing on the headset, and it's like not helping. So how are you feeling? Can I see the mic a second? How are you feeling right now?
Not at home.
Not at home. Not at home. And then maybe, she does find a seat because she does, and then worship starts, and then this is how the worship leader starts.
Hey guys, we didn't really get a chance to practice, so let's just see how this goes.
Right? Is that excellent? I'm pretty sure that Katie's wishing she hadn't come in the front door, right? Are you trying to figure out the quickest way out? Right? Okay, then the teacher, comes to the podium, and he or she, gets her, stands here, maybe gets the Bible and goes, well, you know what, Hi, and I was so busy this week catching up on Netflix that I just didn't really actually get a time to study and prepare, so I'm just going to open up the Bible and go, whoa, read that verse and call it a day. What do you say? Is that excellent? No, that's not what we're trying to build. That kind of service where people are not giving their best doesn't bring honor to Jesus, right? And I am so grateful that instead we have people in the parking lot. They're not perfect. They're not perfect. And everybody occasionally might have a bad day, but we've labored hard to create a culture that they're smiling at you at least when they come in, and that people aren't on Instagram when they're greeting you, and the ushers actually look you in the face to see you, and that musicians spend hours and hours every week practicing so that when they lead you in worship, they're giving honor to God. And Philip and me and Wes and Julian, at least all the teaching team, we actually labor hours and hours every week to craft a word that can bring honor to God. Is it perfect? No. But there's a spirit of excellence to it. Thanks, team. Y'all are all excellently amazing. Amazing. Even the invitation, the website, or if we do invite cards, which will be coming up for Easter, we'll do these invite cards. Again, maybe not perfect, but they're, to the best of our ability, excellent. And then are the bathrooms clean? It's like, come on, let's leave them clean. If you go in there, don't leave a mess. Pick it up after yourself, right? And trash, let's pick up the trash. This is the house of God. Is the front of the church swept? I am the sweeper patrol. I'm always going, okay, somebody, broom. I mean, I've been out there sweeping that. I have, listen, whether it's a microphone or a broom, I do this church, okay? So out there sweeping. And our children's ministry want the rooms organized and efficient. Do you know we live scan every volunteer who works with your kids? Excellence. We don't just randomly throw people, you got time, we'll throw you in there with the kids. Not a chance. Excellence. It all matters. It matters. It's even in the Bible. 1 Kings 10, it tells the story of the Queen of Sheba. Now, the Queen of Sheba lived in a land far away from Israel. And she heard about King Solomon, who was the king of Israel at that point. And she heard about him, and she had heard about this temple that he had built and this palace he had built. And she heard about his wisdom. And she thought everybody was exaggerating. She didn't believe any of it. So she made this trip to come actually see if it was true. And it says, when the Queen of Sheba experienced for herself Solomon's wisdom, and saw with her own eyes the palace he had built, the meals that were served, the impressive array of court officials and sharply dressed waiters, the lavish crystal, the elaborate worship, extravagant with whole burnt offerings at the steps leading up to the temple of God. It took her breath away. I love that. So here is this woman far from God, and she walks into the house of God, and her breath is taken away. I think we have an obligation and a responsibility, church, to create an environment where when the lost and the hurting and the broken and the business leader and the president of this, they walk in, they go, oh, their breath is taken away. And do you know why it says? One thing she pointed out in verse 8 says, happy are the men and women who serve with you. She saw happy people. Listen, now Solomon had bazillions to build this amazing temple. I'm all about having the bazillions. Feel free to write that check. Because I think we owe it to God to be excellent with what he's trusted us with. And at the same time, what she noticed was the happy people. That costs nothing. Costs nothing. When we serve, put a smile on your face. Look, you can be grumpy later, but put a smile on your face. Because you have people coming in with challenges and hurts, and we want to actually create an environment that says, welcome home. Welcome home. And you know, because of what the queen saw, that story ends with her blessing God. She wanted to know who God was. She was intrigued and inspired by an atmosphere that was created. It was the excellence that caused her to bless God. It mattered. We should create a world, a house that is breathtaking. Our job is to create a church so irresistible that people can't wait to get here, and that causes people to bless God. I mean, we don't think anything of people practicing like crazy to play sports, right? I mean, how many golf balls are hit on the driving range? And what is the point? Right? They do that because they take the game very seriously. They're committed to doing their best. Now, Kobe Bryant played basketball for the Lakers and is probably one of the top 10 players who ever played the game. I mean, he's no Michael Jordan, but whatever. And I was reading an article about him and his work ethic. And there's a man named Rashid Hazard who was a Lakers scout from 2006 to 2011, and he's currently New York Knicks assistant coach. But he said this one time. He said, I got a phone call from a blocked number the day after Labor Day. It's 11 p.m. and it's Kobe. And he wanted to know if I could help him out on the court at 5:30 a.m. Well, I told him I would be there. So I show up at 5:20 a.m. thinking I'm early, and he's already in a full sweat. He had hired a guy just to stretch him that year and to show him different ways of doing warm-ups, so he had already done that and lifted weights. He's in full sweat 10 minutes before we're supposed to meet and start ours. And then that's when I realized that 5:30 a.m. meant 4:45 a.m. with Kobe. And when we were done, then he went and had a track workout, and when he was done at the track, he had a core workout, and then I met him that night to get some more shots in. He averaged taking 1,000 shots at every practice. And he said, I've never seen anyone work like that. His hunger to be the best was unmatched. Well, do you know what? We're building a church that has the potential to change people's lives. How much more should excellence be in building God's house? And excellence isn't easy. Excellence, you never achieve excellence by staying in a comfort zone. Excellence always means stepping into something new. Excellence is stepping perhaps into the land of promise that God is offering you, but there's always work involved in excellence. A few years ago, there was an ad in the paper for a drive-in passion play. Now, the passion play is the passion. When you hear that word, the passion, in terms of a movie or play, it basically is telling the final days of Christ before, he went to the cross and his death and burial. And so there's an ad in the paper for a passion play in Branson, Missouri. Anybody ever heard of Branson, Missouri? It's basically in the middle of the country. Really interesting things happen there. But it was a drive-in passion play. And, like a drive-in movie, basically, this is saying you could watch the story of Jesus, the Passion Play, without ever getting out of your car. The ad said this: come and experience the life of Christ, all from the comfort of your own car. I just think, what? Because the truth is, we will not experience the life of Christ or the life that Christ desires for us from within our areas of comfort. We will not be the church of excellence from within our areas of comfort. And it's not comfortable to change. It's not comfortable to reach those in need. It's not comfortable to work for excellence. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary if we're going to fulfill the mission of the church, which is to reach people far from God and lead them to become authentic followers of Christ. That's never going to be comfortable. We're always going to push for excellence, but I think we can do it because we're serving a God who's asking us, can you build a church so magnificent that when the hurting and the broken and the lost come in, their breath is taken away. Their breath is taken away and they want to encounter me. They want to encounter a living God. That's our job. In this city that so often tries to lead people different directions, we're counterculture. We're creating an environment that's not about self, it's not about fame, it's not about who's who. It's about creating a culture and an environment of people who are striving for excellence, not for their name, but for His name, to see His name glorified. Let's be those people.